Hey, what is up, guys? It is John from the Collectors Company once again. Today, we're featuring a very special guest, a man who just got third in the online regional this weekend. Max, you care to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Max. I play a lot of card games. I do decently well at Dragon Ball, relatively consistently. So, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, Max is very good. The weekend before the Queensland regional 2 weeks ago, Max actually helped me out a bit after destroying me in some testing games. So it was pretty rough on my behalf. But yeah, it just shows how good of a player Max is. So he's doing pretty good for himself.
Cheers.
So yeah, Max, what did you got a really under the radar deck? I feel like this deck's underrated. I know this deck's underrated because we talked about it a little bit. So what do you want to
Yeah.
talk the deck you played today, or the weekend, I guess?
Yeah, so I played Frieza Swap, which is the new yellow leader. I do think it's the best yellow deck, which is pretty outlandish to say considering how many good yellow decks are out there. It just gets so much value for absolutely no reason. Uh, and it's like deck I was brought onto it by one of the guys out in Perth. He sent me a message because he knew I loved to play Swap, and he just wanted to play it like for fun. And I was like, "Hey man, do you have a Swap list that I can use?" And I was like, "Nah, but I'll make one for you tonight." So I looked at the deck, and then as I looked at the deck more, I realized how like stupid the deck could be. And then going into last weekend into Brisbane, I think I messaged John at like midnight or something the day before the tournament. And I was like, man, I don't play Margin Virginia anymore. I want to play Swap. And John was like, we don't have the promos yet. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll play Margin Virginia.
Yeah.
Absolutely terribly. Went 3-3. I blame John for everything now.
That's my bad. I'm just trying to get rid of the competition, That's my bad.
Yeah. But I decided that this was my redemption weekend. I was playing Swap Frieza, and it definitely did well. So over this, I guess enough talking about me here. Of course, shout out to Paxton, shout out to John, shout out to everyone else who helped me with the deck. But this deck, so it has a permanent reduces skill cards of swap on your Yellow Frieza cards by one specified yellow. So it's pretty much that permanent's just there to balance the archetype, so you can't use any Golden Frieza.
For set one, yeah. Literally, that line of text is literally to say, yeah, this is not a set 1 deck, it's a set 21 deck, is what that line of text is.
Yeah. And then it has two ways to awaken. So if you're at 4 less life, you can untap one and draw one. That's super good going second into like an aggro deck. If they take you down to 4, it means you can like re-establish yourself. So having that untap draw one on 4 or less is like super relevant. Doesn't happen much because not many people take you down to 4 turn 2, but it's there if you need it. But the auto, if you have 2 or more energy, when you activate swap on one of your Yellow Friezas, draw 2, take life down 6, flip your leader over. And then it has an activate main to look at top 5 for a Yellow Frieza with an end cost 5 less. It can grab Riposte, which is silly.
That skill is fucking. I'm sorry, but that skill is insane. Like one of the big reasons why I didn't like Red Sin was the fact that it could like plus going first, and this is like plussing arguably one of the best yellow cards in the game. Is like okay, like why not? I guess.
Yeah, you plus into your engine, or you plus into the like yellow's best flood hit.
Yeah.
And if you don't grab a Yellow Frieza, there's also the option to grab the Army of Terror, Return of the Army of Terror, which is like the successor of Hope for this deck.
On crack.
Yeah, on crack. So that's the front side. The Awakened side has the same permanent to reduce the cost of swaps. When you activate swap, draw a card, and once per turn, when one of your Yellow Friezas with cost of 3 or more and swap attacks, look at top 3 combo with a Frieza's Army card. That's the leader. I'll go over the Z leader when I get to the Z deck, but let's go over the archetype. So you've got the 4 1-drop Friezas. They have Deflect and Barrier, so it's hitting the board and it's staying on the board. Swap for swap 3, so it swaps into a 3 cost Frieza. For 1 yellow, it's costs 3 because leader effect. From now on, I'm just gonna say what it costs in this deck, not what it actually costs.
Yeah.
And then if your leader is a Yellow Frieza when it's played, you pretty much get to fix your hand. So choose 1 Yellow Frieza with swap in your Z energy, add it to your hand, add 1 card from your hand to your Z energy. So it means your leader effect is essentially a pseudo search, which is more broken. It can't add your Ape drop because it doesn't have swap. Moving on to the 3 costs that the 1-drop can swap into, we have the common, which is the best of the all 3. When you play it, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, switch to rest. If the card you switch to rest has a cost of, or if the card you chose, has a cost of 4 or less, KO it. So it's super cheap KO, really good against like most cards that come down turn 1, turn 2, because they all have a cost of 4 or less.
It will kill
We,
something. It will
yeah,
kill
it'll kill something. We have the uncommon Frieza from the set. So when it attacks, you get a look at top 3 and combo. So same thing as leader effect. Basically, if you need a big swing, this is what you go for. With all the cards all the 3 drops are 19k. This is at least a 24k most of the time. So it can attack into Z leaders, unlike the rest of them. So it's still valuable to have. And last but not least, we have the promo. This is really good for 2 reasons. Actually, 3 reasons, I guess. One is on play. Order is you gotta look at top 5 and add a Yellow Frieza to your hand. So adds for post, adds a drop, as whatever you want. So it helps you find your pieces that you need for the chain. Secondly, you have to place 1 card from your hand on top of your deck. So you can place an 8 drop on top of the deck if you want. So your leader effect becomes a 0
free
for 10k
combo.
free 10k combo,
Yep.
which is super valuable. But the other thing is it has deflect. So for those who don't know, the way swap has changed a little bit. So the way you have to swap now is you pay whatever costs are related to swap. You reveal a valid target. So just say I want to reveal this, right? And then you pick this up you pick the 1 drop up, put it in your hand, and then you choose up to 1. So you don't have to play any, and you don't have to play the cards you revealed, but you do have to have a valid target. So if I reveal this and they go, I'm going to counter window 1, you just play the one with the flip. So it is very valuable for having deflect, as it just means they're not going to counter window 1.
Yeah.
Which is super good.
Yeah, I think for those who are planning to try this deck, like I said to Max, I don't think this deck's worth playing without the promo. The promo does so much for the deck that it's kind of hard to justify without it. Would you go up to 3 once you get a 3rd copy, or you're happy with 2?
I'm happy with 2. The deck is at 52 spoilers. But it's just there's so many like small nuances that I have to fix with the deck. Like after playing with it with the tournament, it was the best experience like you could get. So this deck list isn't perfect, but it's a great starting point. But there's so many like small things to change, and I don't think there's enough space to add a 3rd Frieza.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Going into the 5 drops, so all these have swap 5, which will end up costing 1 yellow after leader skill. So we have the new 5 drop SR. This is one of the more broken cards in the deck. On play, draw 1. So you go +1 in hand because swap replaces itself in this with draw. When you play it, which is super valuable, and it carries one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier. You can play it from your Z energy by placing a Yellow Frieza or Saiyan from your field into your Z energy. Barely do that in this deck because it's always cheaper to play it by a swap and more value. Activate main if you have 3 or more energy and you remove this card from the game. Play up to 1 Yellow Sun Goku or Frieza with an energy cost of 2 or less from your hand or drop. Now, there's 2 main targets. You'll either play the 1 drop, or you'll play. Let me grab it over here. The SR from the new set. I'm not playing it because space was super tight, but this is a really good card that you can play in the deck. So I would definitely put one of these in before I put like the 3rd Frieza in, just because it's for free. You can go into a 20k dual attacker.
Yeah.
Which is really, really valuable. And if people leave you on 5, you can do it to get down to 4 life so you can Z awaken.
Yeah.
But it has all the 5 drops have swap 8 for 2 specified and 2 specified yellow and 2 anything to get into the 8 drop that does get reduced by the Z leader. Once again, spoilers. We have the 2 barrier blockers. So on play, if you have 3 more energy against dual attack, pretty good. But also when your opponent plays a card, choose up to 1 of those cards and negate its skills for the turn. That's once per turn. So it is essentially Swap Frieza's version of the 3 drop Trunks.
Instead of tapping negate skills.
Instead of tapping negate skills. It's 20k, so it's better offensively, exact same defensively. But it's just like, it's good. It's definitely not as good as Trunks Cheaters because I think resting's better than playing. Same thing as Trunks Cheater though, if they play something with barrier.
Doesn't do anything, yeah.
Doesn't do anything, it will just fizzle. But still super valuable card, especially paired with Sin, you kind of just get gross.
It's like disgusting board state, yeah. Disgusting defensive state.
The last 5 drop, when it's played by swap, if you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier and switch it to rest, then and this card can be removed by from your battle area by your opponent's skills. Then if you have 3 more energy, it also gets double strike for the turn. So super valuable. If you just need something to go up to the chain next turn, you play this, leave it inactive, and then it's not going anywhere.
Have you with that 5 drop in particular? One thing I noticed I was doing when I was playing the deck a lot, the card came in clutch when there was something in active mode that had barrier, right? Being able to tap something barrier and then use the other 5 drop to kill it. Do you feel like you did that a lot over the weekend, or did it not really come up?
I didn't have too many situations where something had barrier I needed to like get rid of. But it's definitely something like I've done in testing with something like against a Sin, for example. I'll kind of play this and then against Sin is kind of awkward because if you play this and you switch it to rest, they can go haha, negate skills and switch yourself back to active. But like in theory, there are some annoying cards with barrier that they'll just leave inactive, and this is like a way to deal with it. The other thing is if you switch something to rest with this and then you swap into the 8-drop, as I'm about to show you, also carries ignoring barrier. So it is very valuable, but it is the worst out of the 3, even though it is still super strong.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the one you play at 1.
Yeah. Would you ever consider going up on anything? Like, I personally like to run the one with the green background. I can't remember the name.
The barrier blocker.
The barrier blocker. I personally like to run that one at 3. Like, I think I'm running in my list. I'm running 7 of the 5 drops, like 3 of the SR, 3 of the him, and then one of the other guy that you're running one of as well. Would you ever consider changing those ratios, or do you reckon it's spot on with how you got the deck right now?
Now, realistically, it would be great to have another one of these. One of the big problems I had with the deck was it's like lacks of flexibility with your sideboards, because I pretty much had like the minimum of every single card I wanted to run in this deck. So kind of figuring out what cards can kind of just be cut entirely to include like more copies of these to also help with like sideboarding, because generally they're super good, but like there's virtually no space to sideboard stuff in and out. Kind of similar how you ran Koitsukai in your Go Hard list. That was your sideboard card. Similar to this, it's just like no cards I realistically want to sideboard in and out because the deck is so strong inherently. But I would like to put them up to 4 and 3, just finding space for them again.
Yeah, that's fair.
After more testing. But then the last part of the swap chain is the 8-drop. So it has double strike and dual attack. When you play it, choose all your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier and KO them. Permanent when this card leave the battle area, you can add this to your Z energy instead. And then it has an activate main limit 1, which is both very strong and super situational. If your leader is a Yellow Frieza, your opponent has 2 more energy, and you remove this card from Z energy from the game, as well as the top 5 cards from your deck from the game. Play up to 1 Yellow Frieza with an energy cost of 1 and swap from your hand. So essentially start your chain for free. This effect, there's virtually no game in which this effect shouldn't come up. However, I am super scared of getting rid of my secret rare and like super combos that I kind of wait till I see all the pieces I need to see. And at that point, if I want to like really push the game on a turn, I will use the activate main. Or if I'm like just in an awkward spot early because I'm like been put on the back foot defensive, it's a really good tool going second to be able to start your chain and still get to a point in the chain where it has value, but still be able to play defense. So it's kind of that. It gives versatility into your deck to catch up, but there is a big amount of risk involved for that activate main. So it's kind of sometimes it could just lose you the game because you'll walk a secret range.
Yeah, you don't really want to do that. Yeah, I feel like the best part about that card is that literally with the leader, it's a free 10k combo, which is funny.
Yeah, it's and it's like one of the reasons because you can't add it back to the 1-drops. I kind of like want to put it back to 4 so I can like randomly get more 10ks, but in hand it like hurts. It's just there's weird ratio things that kind of need to be fixed. But we have so much time for testing.
Yeah, true.
Then we have the Successor of Hope. So add up to 1 Yellow Frieza with swap and energy cost of 5 less from your deck to your hand for free. That does not have limit 1, but the effect it does have limit 1. Activate battle. If your leader is what your leader is, or your Z leader and your life set 4 or less, choose one of your Yellow Frieza cards and gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. So you can give your double strike dual attack 8-drop plus 5k for the turn. Defensively, you can make your Z leader a 25k for the turn. You can make your barrier blocker that has dual attack 25k. There's just a bunch of different things to go with it. Very good card.
Yeah,
Stupid card.
Stupid
card. If you don't see any extra cards to charge the first 2 turns, but you've seen 2 of these, guess what? Repulse is still alive turn 2 because you just searched your deck for 2 cards.
Yeah, the card's actually insane. Like Successor of Hope back in the day was so good because it was literally like a free deck thinner plus you get information on what's in your deck. This is that, but also a bean that you can use on both turns. Like, damn, okay, fair enough then.
Yeah, it is such a valuable card, and like the biggest thing is it puts Repose live. So, like turn 2, you're always gonna have Repose live. I know a lot of yellow decks have been cutting down the extra cards, and sometimes it's not until turn 3 that you're seeing 2 to charge neutral play. So giving Riposte turn 2 is just like super valuable. And the final card that kind of goes with the chain is Sorbet. So when one of your yellow freezers with swap is removed from your battle area by an opponent's skill, play this card from your hand. And then when this card is played, play up to one yellow freezer with an energy cost of 1 and swap from your drop. It's a super situational card. Sometimes you need it to actually like stay in the game because they'll just remove part of your chain and you cry.
Yep.
The amount of times John and I are talking about just crying because like something got removed. It is also a card which like is super awkward to play around because the one drop freezer has to be in the drop. So it's like you just gotta combo it from hand sometimes, or if you see it off your leader effect, just not Z energy it. Having one sit in the drop is super valuable. But I think it's a necessary evil. It kind of sucks that it takes up 2 deck slots.
Yeah.
But it is a necessary evil, as John has learned as well.
Look, I personally, in my version of the deck, and I think Max is right, I can agree, I'm wrong, I wasn't running that card, and there was a lot of times where I was like, if my chain wasn't interrupted at like the most random points, or if I had this card to rebuild the chain, I'll be like, damn, I'm chilling, but that didn't happen, and I got sad. So it was like that.
Yeah, it's kind of just like to prevent sadness. But now that's all like your chain and your offensive stuff. Going into the defensive cards, talk less about these because everyone knows what they're doing. 4 Ripostes, 2 Vegetos. Vegeto's a card that can go from like a 0 to 4 in this deck. You have your Z energy, so it's always going to be live in comparison to like every other yellow deck. But Riposte is searchable, and Riposte is just a better card because if you play Vegeto and they have like an on-swing effect to get rid of it, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I just wasted my 1 defensive energy for not negating their big swing. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, the biggest thing, obviously, between the two cards, one, the Frieza hits your opponent's leader, Vegito doesn't, and like the fact that Unisons aren't really seeing too much play right now, it's like, well, it's cool to have the Unison like interaction, but like just it's not as impactful as it would have been like maybe a few sets ago.
Yeah, and when you're at your Z leader, Vegito is like theoretically better than Riposte. Because like A, it's a blocker, so if they don't have an answer to it on swing, they have to answer Vegeta before they swing, otherwise you get free value. B, negates all your opponent's strike skills for the turn when you're at your Z leader. And C, you have so much free defense on your Z leader that you don't need to actually negate the attack. So it's definitely a valuable card. Probably just save it for when you have a Z leader, like when you're in your Z leaders.
Yeah.
2 Sin, everyone knows what Sin does by now. 2 Mana Coolers, everyone knows what Mana Cooler does by now. 2 Sorbet. Just imagine I have 4 Mana Coolers, but it says limit 2 instead. Sorbet is just like another Mana Cooler. So if you're on your Z leader, you get it's a free negate, and then activate battle is super valuable. So if you have a chance, if you get to choose between which one to play, you play Mana Cooler if they like are about to blow up your entire board or something like that because it has barrier. You play Sorbet if you think it's going to survive. Because Sorbet has an activate battle. Choose one of your opponent's yellow. Choose one of your yellow freezer cards with swap, and that card gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. So your dual attack becomes 25k. Another bean. We love beans. And then the last, I guess, defensive battle card we have is Poutine. Poutine in theory is amazing because you got so many ways to switch stuff to rest. Unlike yellow decks are like slowly going away from switching stuff to rest outside of Riposte. But this has so many ways to switch stuff to rest. So Poutine is great.
Yeah, mainly the 3-drop, I'd say. The best swap card, pretty much, right?
Yeah. The 3-drop is like the easiest way to do it. If you have to do it with the 5-drop because it has barrier, you can do it with the 5-drop. And then Poutine essentially says you can have both Sin and Trunks on the field at the same time.
Yes.
So definitely run it. Running it 1 though, you may not see it. I didn't play it once. But it's just a card that, like, in Yellow Mirrors, especially if you have this, you're in, like, such a valuable spot.
Yeah, Frieza Swap is weird, where, like, you always have a massive hand, but the problem is that, like, your opponent knows that your hand is just swap cards, which is just... Yeah, it's pretty funny, but yeah, it's kind of how the deck works.
Yeah, if you watch the streams, like, I have massive hands the entire game. It's always pretty amusing. Then to finish off my extra cards, 2 Frieza Army Reinforcement, amazing negate, we all know what it does. Cold Bloodlust, Yellow Frieza's Army Leader. We can run Cold Bloodlust.
Yeah,
another great reason to... Yeah. 2 SCS is another great reason to play this deck. Cooler, no, we don't worry about Cool Secret. Beaston, we can stop that. Combo, we can stop that. It's the value. The 1 Tyrannical Blow, the beautiful level 3. Normally I run 2 Tyrannical Blows in my yellow deck, but we have Cold Bloodlust, so that's my second Tyrannical Blow. And then the last one is Power of the Super Saiyan. I am getting to the point where I want to cut Power of the Super Saiyan out of my yellow decks.
Don't blame you. It's weird. It's like
it's really weird. Like, yeah, in theory, there's no reason to ever not run it because if you draw it, you can just cycle it, right? So it's
Yeah.
just value. But sometimes it just kind of, I don't know, it feels weird. I don't want to go with like too many cards in hand. I think it's more of a placebo effect. I think in theory, you can just add, like, if you're cutting it to replace something, just add the other card because Power Super Saiyan just cycles for free, or just like leave it in. Theoretically, it shouldn't change anything, but like it feels like a card I want to change.
Yeah, I think it's as crazy as it sounds. The best case scenario for Power of the Super Saiyan is against blue, where you get to tap Boo Unison on your kill turn. That's like literally best case scenario for that card, because Boo Unison is very, very annoying, and yeah, this card is one of the few ways in the game where you can get around it.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, I would pretty much prefer it to be like another Tyrannical Blow against Boo, because you can just negate its skills to the turn if they counter attack with a Pilaf or a 17. So it's definitely a hard one. But finishing off the deck, we have 2 Swift Retaliation Coolers. Everyone knows what it does. 2 Bardock Overwhelms. Bardock was in here so I can deke my Secret more. I'm not sure if I like it just because of how important it is with yellow to keep like your extra cards in the drop. And because I only have 5 that I can theoretically, 4 because I'm never charging Cold Bloodlust. I only have 4 I can theoretically charge. So most of the time I've charged 1 and I have like 1 return of the army in my drop or 2. If I don't have another one to like play as soon as I overwhelm, I feel like it's just like in a really rough spot because I don't have my Riposte live anymore. Or if it like means I'm warping a 1-drop, it means my Sword Bays aren't live. So I have to like discard a 1-drop. It's like the most common target to discard off the Bardock. So it's an interesting card. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. Definitely got to play it more.
I think
ever played it on my kill turn, so I never played it just for a cycle.
Yeah, I think digging in more when you can fill up your drop quickly is nice. It is another way to get the 1-drop Freezer from hand into the drop efficiently. But yeah, like you said, the yellow's biggest nightmare is not having enough extra cards for a Riposte, so it's kind of like situational, yeah.
It's a situational, and it could just be I work on my sequencing and this card's amazing, right? Like it's just small stuff like that.
That's true.
And to finish it off, it's the 3 super combos in the secret rare. Nothing too special. As I said, it's 52 cards, and it's very hard to pick any cards in this deck and say I want to cut it, except Poutine because it's a one-off, and one-offs are hard to see. And like Power Super Saiyan, but cycles anyway, so cutting it doesn't actually do anything. But I'm sure there are stuff to cut to make the deck better. But that is the main board at the moment. It is an amazing place to swap. To start, playing Frieza Swap.
Yeah.
But as you might have noticed, as I'm picking it up, there's not many places to cut, which also means there's not many places to sideboard cards in it.
Yeah, would you ever consider... Look, I personally, when I build a deck, I try to keep it as close to 50 cards as possible. I know your deck is 52. Is there a world where you go down to 51 or 50, or you think like you just... like?
If I go down to 50... So the main reason I'm at 52 is I had it at 50 like while testing or while practicing the deck, and then like a day before the regionals I bumped it up to 52, and that's because I realized in all my practicing I haven't thought enough about sideboarding. So I put 2 Sins from my side into my main, just so I had versatility to sideboard, so I could make better decisions quicker. If I had the time and I spent like a couple hours like talking to yourself, John, or someone else about the sideboard and figuring out what cards to take in and out, those Sins go back to the side, and we figure out what cards are right in the matchups. So it definitely can go down to 50, but you just have to make sure you're paying more attention to your side, which I do not do.
Fair enough. All right, Z-Deck time. I think the Z-Deck... yeah.
Z-Deck's super simple, but I will go over it. So we have 2 Z-Leaders. The biggest thing for me this weekend is I want a 3rd Z-Leader.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So Z-Awaken when you last at 4 or less. Pay 1 to go into it. It has a permanent... so first of all, it has Z-Stack 1, so you'll be putting Sorbet under it. I'll talk about Sorbet in a sec. Reduce the energy cost of your swap cards, like your Yellow Frieza Swap cards, by 1 yellow and 2 colors. It means you go into 8-drop for 1. All the others still cost the same. Order when this card is played into your leader area, draw 1, and then remove this card from the game at the end of the turn. So it's a +1, stupid value. I don't know why we draw on this, but that's fine. And then when you're Yellow Frieza with an energy cost of 5 or more, attacks with your top 3 cards of your deck and combo with Frieza Army. This isn't once per turn, so like your 8-cost dual attack, that's like minimum 35k swing twice. Or like your 20k dual attack, that's a minimum of 25k swings twice. It's just, you get so much free value out of that combo power that you'll replace the 3C energy you need for it like immediately.
I can't believe you said you want to go into 3 though, damn. Is that good, huh?
Definitely. When I played against Anthony, it didn't matter because we went into time. Anthony was my only loss. But going to my last turn, I could only go into 5 drops because I'd used my 2 Z leaders already. And like yellow grind games, I just kind of like want to go into a Z leader, so I have the defense for it, and then I want to go into like a second Z leader, and then on my kill turn, I want to go into the third Z leader, so I can actually go into the 8 drops. So like 1 Z leader for defense purpose only, never go into the 8 drop. Second one to go into 8 drop plus defense, and the third one just for offense.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I know it's like against Benny. But Sorbet, it's got unique, so you don't play more than one because it's never being removed once it hits the field. If you place 2 of your Z energy into your drop, which you will get off your order on your Z leader, so you don't have to worry about how much Z energy you have. When one of your opponent's battle cards is played by a skill play this card from under one of your Z leaders, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 7 and switch it to rest mode. Has a second order when this card is played. Look at top 5 cards of your deck and add the successful prep card to your hand. If you do, discard one from your hand. The biggest thing I've noted, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, margin Vegeta Z leader. Does that say what you can Z stack?
Not off the top of my head. I think I have the card on my desk somewhere, but not off the top of my head.
Cool. Well, if it doesn't, you can play this in Margin Vegeta as well, and it's pretty silly. So it's a free counterplay for a 7 or less that you just rest on play. Super valuable. Ridiculously valuable. Just discard 2 Z energy for a free counterplay. So it makes your, like, this is like a steadfast assist, for example, right? So your Z leader that you paid 1 for, you've drawn. So that's a Bardock, the 1-drop Bardock that draws the card. It is plus 5k, which is like a lot of effects to get plus 5k, cost 1. You get like unlimited combo power, as well as like a counterplay, and 2 free negates. Like that is the best 1 energy you'll ever spend in your life. Targamo is your self-awakener, so when you play this card, you can add 1 Yellow Frieza with an energy cost of 1 from your drop to your hand. If you do, play 1 Yellow Frieza with an energy cost of 3 and swap. It costs 3 Z energy. As I said, you get Z energy. Don't worry about how much Z energy these cards cost. So for 1 energy, you can go into the 3 drop, which is super valuable, and you get the 1 drop back to hand, so you got plus 1 in hand, kind of, for playing the 3 drop. And auto, add 1 card from your life to your hand, discard 1 card from your hand, and switch this card to rest mode. Play up to 1 Yellow Frieza. When you play a Yellow Frieza with a cost of 3, play 1 Yellow Frieza's army token with 10,000 power and a gains blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. So self-awakener that gives you a blocker token. And then the end of the Z deck, we have the Oolong. We have the new SSB Goku. Barrier dual attack KOs twice on swing, and it has crit. Good card. And then the Evolved Defender, good card as well. For me, this card is like probably realistically never getting played. So that's just like your third Z leader.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, quickly on the Sorbet, you are right. For Margin Vegeta players out there, you can technically Z-stack the Sorbet card that Max just showed, and it does actually work in the deck. So that's pretty funny that does work.
Yeah.
Would you do that? I don't know, maybe. Situational, of course.
I mean, Margin Vegeta players, if you're Z-waking defensively, you just need to survive the turn, you win the game, just put this under and you'll probably win the game from there.
That's pretty funny that works, but yeah.
Yeah, so like, that's going in my Margin Vegeta Z deck now.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that you were willing, you rate the Z leader that highly, which I can kind of see. Like the fact that it's kind of weird because you actually get artificial draw power. Like not that many Z cards in this game say when you play them you draw a card, and technically the Z leader does, and when you play it you do draw a card. So yeah, it's like a technically a good way to plus. I know, Max, you might be onto something. That's why you did well with the deck and I didn't.
It's just like the 1-drop Bardock that like when you send it from drop to wall, pay 1, draw a card. It's like that, but on a Z leader, gives your leader plus 5k, access to free negates, access to Sorbet. And yeah, as I said, like against Yellow, after playing against Benny, I had like so many realizations. I'm just like, against Yellow, the game's just so much slower that I just want to be playing slow and be able to play multiple Z leaders and not be like, oh, I've played my 2 Z leaders, I'm out of gas.
Yeah.
For the sideboard, I guess a super quick backstory. I've played against a guy called Tim Hain the last 2 online regionals, and he only plays Mill. Like he is such like a dedicated Mill player. John played him on Thursday at locals and did not give me hope. His response was, "I cried." So I thought I just couldn't beat Mill, and I knew I was like going to be unlucky in pair against Tim. So my side for Tim was triple Quetzalcoatl, 1 Gohan Unison, 2 Trunks Unisons. I just wanted to have a chance against Miller, Cool Miller. Miller. Cooler Mill. Jeez, that was
You got
not
there.
good
You got
English.
there.
I got there eventually. But realistically, you have like Coits and Unison to come in against Yellow. Against like Expert 21, your Trunks has come in as well. Against Blue because of Pilaf and 17, and like Goku Black and Power playing Gohan, you're playing Coits cards anyway. For multiple decks, but the reason they're so heavy in my side deck is
Cool Mill.
for Cooler. Because I don't want to. I don't like losing to Mill, mainly because I love you, Tim. Now for Yellow Mirrors, I have the Final Flashes. There's no Final Flash in main, but there is 2 on the side. Power Super Saiyan normally comes out, or something comes out. It's just I really struggle taking cards in and out of my sideboard. So like once I sit down and actually like look at it properly and spend the time, which I should have done before this weekend, I'll be able to have better sides. But Power Super Saiyan is really good because you can negate your opponent's Sin, and then you can play the 3-drop Frieza and kill it. It's really good, really really good. It like that 3-drop Frieza just means that like their Sin for 1 energy doesn't exist, and they pay 2 energy to play it. So I really like.
And you get to keep on doing your business anyway, or outside of that.
Yeah, and it's like your leader becomes like a 30k swing, and you're just happy. Second Tyrannical Blow, super good card.
Only because it's level 2, it's in the side, huh?
Yeah, because it's level 2, so it's in the side. It's not level 3. And then for Android 21, I have the Trunks or any blue deck. I'm pretty much going to side the Trunks in unless I know that they're playing Beasthorn, in which case I'll leave the Trunks out. But like to stop SOSB Kaioken. Anyone who wants to play their serialized Goku, Nick. It's just there, and for 21 to stop the 5-drop. And then the rest is pretty much for Green Gohan. 3 Gohans, you don't need Deborah. Gohan doesn't hand control enough. But this card is valuable because you don't need an energy to play Deborah. The other really good thing is against Android 21, their 4-drop negate. This card just like single-handedly makes that 4-drop negate cry because it asks you to ditch a Z energy and a
card from hand,
discard a card from hand. So you go cool swing. I'll get rid of a Z energy. You have to have at least one. I'll play Gohan, draw a card, combo Gohan. It's my Z energy. Swing. Play Gohan, draw a card, combo Gohan. It's my Z energy.
Yeah. When you told me about this, it blew my mind. It's like, yeah, damn, this one card single-handedly just makes that floodgate irrelevant, which is hilarious.
Yeah. So if you super worry about 21, play for it. Like it means it doesn't matter. And this is the card that John told me to play against Green Gohan, and I was like, oh, it's kind of mess. I didn't play it at Brisbane. It didn't matter in Brisbane because I didn't play against Green Gohan. And then Alan Liu told me it's great against Gohan as well. I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. Why? And then what I didn't realize is when they play, if they put the 3-drop Vegeta / Trunks under it, and they play the 3-drop Vegeta, you counterplay, you rest the 3-drop Vegeta, and then they can't get the Trunks from underneath their time chamber, and it really sucks for them.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It really sucks. So like, especially if you go first against Greg Gohan and you see it, and they've put the Vegeta under it, and then you leave the energy open and play Vegeta, and you go, I'm arrested, especially like against John's build, where they want to KO your stuff. This places itself in discard to use its effect. So you go, bye, I'm gonna discard this now. You can't KO it, so you can't get your Frieza Swap chain. Your Vegeta's dead. If you play your Goku, you're getting like half value from it. You're not getting your combos. You're not getting your draws.
Yeah,
Very good card.
Yeah, you don't need to go leak the whole strats to the world, bro. It's fine. It's fine. no, but in all seriousness, like, yeah, the card's obviously like good into Green Gohan. It does hit the 3-drop Vegeta, and also as well, it hits the 8-drop Gohan. Yeah, like you have answers to the 8-drop, but like if you're able to like just tap the 8-drop before it does anything, it feels way better than just having to lose something or whatnot. So yeah, good card is good.
Yeah, good card is good. But that's the deck. You have the most defense out of any yellow deck because you have 4 free negates in comparison to Majin Vegeta and it has 2. And you get to be a 25k leader instead of Majin Vegeta's 20k.
And you get a bean.
And you get a bean, and you draw 3 cards per turn instead of Majin Vegeta, which draws 2 cards if you have Goku. This just draws 3 cards a turn anyway, because 1 from the 5-drop Goku Frieza, 1 from your Unawakened Z leader, and then 1 from your Z leader. So it's just value. It's value, man.
Big value.
I love drawing cards, and this deck draws cards. What can I say?
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. I do like, yeah. I think this deck the hype between just single-handedly alone from Gohan being a green deck, and it's also Gohan. Like I think it's made a lot of people not look at the other colors, and plus this
Yeah.
also I believe was the first or second deck revealed, so I think people forgot about it as well. But
Yeah, I think this was the first deck revealed, and then it was that like SSB Goku Vegeta, which was broken until they actually told us that the Whis didn't just win everyone the game.
in time, just skip 2 turns,
Yeah.
I win.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's a super good deck. I do think it's the best yellow deck because it has the best tools. Like, sure, your archetype takes up such a big portion of your deck, but your archetype cards
Are
are
broken.
comparable to the best cards in every other color's decks. Like you have better cards than every other color does, but they're in your archetype and they draw your cards. So it's super, and they're all searchable.
That's
So
a
you
big
don't
thing.
have to max out
Consistency.
copies. Yeah, you don't have to max out copies. Everything's searchable. It's super
Yeah.
valuable.
No, awesome, man. Well, yeah, thanks, heaps, Max, for coming on the channel. I know you have your own channel you do DBS on plus One Piece. You want to just give that a quick shout out?
Yes. Yeah. So I have a channel, Saiyansdownunder. I'm mainly doing One Piece stuff at the moment. I'm about to start a new series, which will be super cool. So go check me out. That'd be great. But yeah, big shout out to John and Jesse, Peter, everyone from Benny, everyone from Collectors for letting me jump on here today and do this with you guys.
Well, no, it's awesome having you around, Max. I'm sure we'll, keep on talking. You'll make me actually good at this deck, which I'm keen. I'm keen to actually win some games, locals with this. And then, I think that's all we've got for today, guys. Anything else you got to say, Max? Or
Nah, that's about it. Thanks for having me. Hope you guys enjoyed. And please play this deck. It's broken.
all right, it's broken, guys. All right, until next time. This is John and Max signing out from Collectors Company. Peace.
See ya.